I'm not surprised. I believe the mineral deal is sort of a minor issue here. Zelensky is giving Trump something that he wants. It won't pay off for years into the future. This is Zelensky's last chance to press for things he wants in a possible peace settlement. He wants security guarantees. He wants to talk about territorial concessions. He wants to talk about NATO membership, American involvement in some type of arrangement to verify a peace agreement. I think most of these things are off the table, and Trump is going to basically say to him, look, time is up. This train is moving quickly. It's time for you to get on board. And Trump said something very interesting recently. He said, this situation might not be solvable. And I think he's making it clear to Putin and Zelensky, there's a small window in time where you may be able to solve this, but Trump's patience is not unlimited.
No, and it sounds like it may be being tested. We are waiting. Again, this is a playback that we get, but because the pool reporters are a little bit ahead of it, Blaine, I just want to give some more context. Fred did an excellent job sort of talking about sort of the card that Zelensky's trying to play in front of a global audience. Trump's not having any of it. I guess Ukrainian President Zelensky says he opposes a ceasefire deal. And again, we're hearing that Vance said, you have said thank you once. You went to Pennsylvania to campaign for the opposition. We all remember that during the campaign, Blaine. Trump says you're running low on soldiers, then you're telling us you don't want a ceasefire. This is lively, right. But this is also a very precarious moment here as this deal was set to be signed.
President Zelensky is playing with absolute fire right now, and Europe has been playing with fire because they've all wanted just money and weapons. And anytime President Zelensky hasn't gotten what he's wanted out of the United States, he has made a habit over the past 4 years or 3 years of just coming out and...
We have the playback. So even better, let's run the playback, and you guys can react after. Here it is, the fiery exchange, Zelensky and Donald Trump.
And for the good of the world, I'm aligned with the world. And I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, you know, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I will respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014 and 2014.
2014?
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but...
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed with him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong-
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have
And
problems.
do you think that it's
I will
respectful
answer.
to come to the Oval Office
I
of the
will
United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're
doing. I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the
bad position,
beginning
and
of
he
the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was
have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards. But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
do you-
III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country,
I'm
that's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of
are you
America
speaking about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a
answer?
lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I-
You have a damn
we-
good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You
We
voted
gave
for
you
your
military equipment,
You
and your
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about West
If
Virginia?
you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak-
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of
except
times
that there,
thank you
except
to
that,
American people.
except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on
I
over
understand,
there.
sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You
I'm-
don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low on
know.
soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're
I
saying
said,
you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
that
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was with
wasn't with
a
you.
guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
But this
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry,
It'll be
here.
a tough deal to make,
Um,
because the attitudes have to change.
what if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you
but
saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia, the 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right. We'll see what we can do about putting it together. Thank you.
Guys, come on, let's go.
We'll see, I don't know.
All right, guys, come on. Please. Hey, come on. Guys, come on, let's move, please. Please.
Thank you.
What a moment inside the White House playing out there. 10 minutes of a back and forth with some really testy exchanges. Donald Trump, you just heard moments ago, saying, you're going to make a deal or we are out. And this kind of began unraveling after the initial comment from Volodymyr Zelinsky saying he did not want a ceasefire. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance talking about the fact that he's not being thankful. At one point, Zelinsky saying he has been alone, kind of going backwards instead of going forwards, which is, of course, what the hope was for today, looking forwards to a mineral deal being signed. Not sure where this stands right now as we saw it concluded. Let's bring in now Robert Wilkie, former Secretary of Affairs at the VA, and also Fred Flight standing by with us. Okay, so that escalated, and we're pretty clear that Donald Trump allowed, he said, I'm glad the American media is seeing this. Secretary Wilkie, it's important, you know, there's all these conversations happening behind the scenes. Donald Trump wants to get a deal done. Why did Zelinsky say these things in an audience like this where it seemed like Donald Trump says he doesn't have the cards, yet he's continuing to push?
Well, first of all, President Trump usually gets his way in the end, and I think when Zelinsky takes a step back, he will realize that a mineral deal actually cements the United States into Ukraine. The other thing that it does, because there will be an American presence in Ukraine, it makes it much easier for European nations and some outside of Europe to argue for investing in Ukraine in order to rebuild a country that has been devastated by the assaults of the Russian army. So, look, President Trump negotiates in ways that the old 19th century ways of doing business in Europe are not comfortable with. But he does get results. And I think in the end, Zelinsky will come around to that reasoning. And I think Ukraine will be better off in the end.
Well, you know, but it was kind of unusual, Fred, because in the beginning, Donald Trump said, you know, we had a negotiation spat, okay? We saw them back and forth where he had some harsh words for Zelensky, but we thought today that we were inching closer, that this was going to be signed. For Zelensky to sort of then open up with a history lesson that Donald Trump didn't need to hear, and J.D. Vance was having none of, and really put him back on his heels when he says, have you said thank you once? A sharp exchange, J.D. Vance really articulating what some folks maybe have been thinking in America. There's money that's been sent, $350 billion. Some of it's missing, unaccounted for. How about a simple thank you? What is the future now for the next, 20 minutes here? We're expected to see a bilateral news conference. Does it go forward, Fred? And if so, how did the two sides continue to speak when there's obviously so much tension and animosity?
Well, this confirms what I said earlier. I think the mineral deal is really sort of meaningless. There were two things going on here. Zelensky is making a final push for things he wants in a peace agreement, and Trump is making it clear, these are my red lines. And the fact that Zelensky is pushing things that he knows Trump's not going to agree to, I'm sure he pushed for NATO membership behind the scenes. He doesn't want a ceasefire right now. As I said earlier, Trump said earlier this week that maybe there won't be an agreement. He's basically saying if Zelensky and Putin don't want a deal, he's going to walk away. There's a brief window in time when Zelensky can end the war and stop the killing. And I think Trump and Vance are flabbergasted that Zelensky won't take advantage of this opportunity.
I think everyone watching that was a little flabbergasted. Donald Trump in the beginning opened up saying there's a hatred there for Putin, the hatred between the two men. It's hard to get a deal done. And Donald Trump says, I'm aligned with the world. He at one point said to Zelensky, you're gambling with the lives of millions of people, Secretary Wilkie. He said, you're gambling with World War III. Is Zelensky listening?
I think he'll have to. I think he'll have to, because he has to know that when it comes to military support, the nations of Europe are not capable of sustaining any Ukrainian military effort in the field. Donald Trump understands that. And that's why I think he made the effort on the economic front in order to continue America's engagement with Ukraine. But Zelensky has to know that the political theater is not going to work on the ultimate performer, and that is Donald Trump. And so Zelensky is playing with fire because he may have been a comedian and B-movie actor in Ukraine, but he's way out of his league in dealing with the President of the United States in this way.
It seems like what we just watched, this tense exchange, puts everything sort of in the most fragile position we've seen. And Donald Trump looked at him and said, you're not winning this, okay? And if you do, it's because of us. We've empowered you to be a tough guy. I want to make a deal. You got to make a deal or we're out. We have a little bit, if people are just joining us, let's replay some of the exchange between Volodymyr Zelensky and President Donald Trump moments ago.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? Did you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
You'll feel it in the future. When I heard that live, Fred, I said, "Oh, that's not a good thing to be saying." What do you think he was trying to intimate to Donald Trump, which really got him to jump in there? I mean, obviously, if he's trying to flex a little, that was not really a well-played hand. In fact, none of this seems to be well played if you were coming here to sign a deal that would have been pretty good for your country.
You know, Zelensky should have learned a lesson when he mysteriously called Trump operating in disinformation space, and Trump got angry at him and criticized him. Why would you come to the White House and argue with President Trump and disagree with him and say things that Trump and Vance think are insulting? This is an opportunity to end the war. The problem is Zelensky doesn't want to end the war. He doesn't want a ceasefire unless he gets certain concessions that are unattainable. There's going to be a deal. The deal's going to be difficult for him to accept. But that's just the reality of the fact. We can't get a peace deal where all Russians are pushed out of Ukraine, Russians are put on trial for war crimes, all Russian troops leave. Trump said he's going to get the best deal possible. That's a pretty good thing for Zelensky. And frankly, if he doesn't take advantage of it, Trump is clearly going to walk away.
Yeah, he said that right there. Former Undersecretary of Defense Robert Wilkie also staying with us for this historic moment we watched play out in front of the world. And we know the world was indeed watching. So you have Trump saying he would walk away. But just an hour ago, even less, this started out as a very friendly exchange. It looked like fences had been mended before. The exchange back where he had said things about his lack of popularity in the polls. Trump was putting all that behind him. Secretary Wilkie, it seemed like we were moving forward, but right now it seems like we're either standstill or moving backward. What is your read?
Yeah, Trump even made conciliatory remarks yesterday in his discussions with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Look, Zelensky doesn't seem to understand, as Putin, I think, understands that Donald Trump holds all of the economic and military cards, whether he's negotiating with the Ukrainians or whether he's negotiating with the Russians. And I'll just focus on the Russians for a minute. In the first Trump term, Donald Trump broke the back of the Russian economy and killed 300 Russians, in spite of the Adam Schiffs of the world, as the president noted a few minutes ago, claiming that the administration was in the pocket of the Russian kleptocracy. And I think Putin has to understand that he can only go so far. His economy is in a free fall. One of the statistics I've been using, Bianca, is that we lost 11,000 tanks in all of World War II. Putin's already lost 12,000 tanks in a fight with just Ukraine, and he's losing about 1,700 people a day, and his inflation rate is now sitting at 45%. So Donald Trump is sitting astride these two individuals, and I think Putin understands better the power of the United States than Zelensky appears to, and that's not very good for Ukraine.
It's not. And what we just saw, really a historic moment here, and hard to kind of wrap our head around everything, because there was also a moment where it was calm and it was congenial. It began very well. The greeting we saw outside when Zelensky walked in, it seemed like this was going to be a very fruitful discussion, a very positive day inside the White House, a very historic day indeed, 3 years into this conflict. At all appearances, and you see everyone gathering here, this did start out somewhat calm and congenial, Fred. I mean, most of it has gone that well. But there was that moment where Zelinsky just wanted to go backward to 2014. You know, we all understand that there were things under different administrations. Donald Trump is saying, I am here now. I will make sure the ceasefire is here. United States people are backing you. This is a moment in time that people are saying, Donald Trump is so close to getting something that could be positive for Ukraine. And it doesn't seem that this is a smart play. But I don't know. Zelinsky apparently is pressured from his people at home, Fred. There's something here. We're still trying to unravel and see how it plays out in the next few hours.
I don't know what Zelinsky was getting at when he talked about 2014. It's a fact that during 3 of the last 4 presidencies, Russia invaded neighboring states, not Trump's presidency. Trump is quite proud of that. He tried to make this point. Zelinsky was just confusing the issue. But what I think is really amazing here is that it's pretty clear that the French and the British have decided to get behind Trump and to stop publicly criticizing him. They're going to try to influence him, but they want to work with him. But Zelinsky wants to keep fighting. And the idea that he doesn't want to accept a ceasefire and he's arguing with the president in the White House is just appalling. He's not working in the interest of the Ukrainian people when he's doing something that may make sure that there will be no ceasefire. The war will go on, and unfortunately, Ukraine will lose.
And J.D. Vance was the first really to step in and say this is completely disrespectful. Gentlemen, thank you. To widen out the conversation, let's bring back in KT McFarland, former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor. KT, it was an hour ago when you joined us, and we were talking about all the positive things that were happening. Donald Trump was about to, sign a minerals deal, and then it kind of goes off the rails in a way none of us could have imagined. Is it reconcilable now? Obviously, the hope is for the world, but they were shaking hands. Zelensky came here to our White House to meet with our president, and Donald Trump was there to extend really what he says was a great deal for them. What was behind Zelensky's move in this meeting?
Who knows? But he has certainly misread Donald Trump, and he has certainly misread this situation. You don't renegotiate the deal as you're trying to sign the deal. And that's what he was doing. And actually, I kept thinking as I'm watching this, Bianca, just last week when Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent went to, quote, sign the deal with Zelinsky. And Zelinsky at the very last minute said, no, I don't want to, no, we're not going to sign this. I can't do this. And so it's like Zelinsky keeps trying to retrade the deal, but he has no leverage. He has no position. And I think the more he got into this, Zelinsky kept talking about security guarantees. America expects you to give me security guarantees. We want to have American support throughout for everything. I think Trump just lost his temper. He just said, I've had enough. We've given you all this money. You don't even know where half of it went. You're losing a war.
Right.
You're fighting very bravely, but you're losing this war nonetheless. And the only way you're going to stay alive in this is with American support. And if you don't want to end this war, we're going to end it for you. We're going to get out of there. And so Zelinsky, I don't know that you can. I don't know unless Vladimir Zelensky is going to come with humble pie. I don't see how this gets resurrected.